Record. Hey everybody, it's Dory Friend and Kyle Roof here, and it is November 22nd, I believe. We're doing it early because Thursday lands on Thanksgiving this month, and we're just coming off of SEO Rockstars. So I'm feeling really pretty good. I've gotten some great feedback on that and the SIA in general. I'm hearing a lot of great things, and people are saying, uh, uh, their rankings are, getting really good and stuff, and that makes me really happy and proud that we're doing this. In any case, that's all about what I have to say, except I do have to tell the story. Didn't lose. I sank my first drone. I got my first drone 2 days ago, and I sank it. It landed in the pond and it sank, and I can't find it. And not that it would run anyway, but it was one of those cheap ones, thank God. But I'm still pretty bummed. Anyway, that's all I have to say now. The wheel squeaking you hear in the background is the bugs in Costa Rica, and that is where Kyle is. So, Kyle, take it away with the tests and the bugs, man. I wish you had one you could show us. They sound gruesome.
They are huge. I was telling Dory before we started that I had to battle one last night. I don't know how it got into our our room, but it was about 4 inches long and about an inch wide, and it was insane. And I was like, I looked at my wife and she looked at me and I was like, you get it. And she's like, no, this is your job. So
You had to
I
man
had
up,
to,
man.
yeah, I did. So like, it
That's
was
a
me and this bug, and I had a cup. It was not a good scene, but we got it out. And
Yeah, it's not a typical nerd
I
thing to
didn't
do,
kill it, so
Well, that's good. I
no, it is not.
guess. I don't know.
But one thing I want to say for if you're in the SIA, and if you're listening to this, you should be in the SIA. But you need to get into the Skype group if you're not in the Skype group. There is so much great stuff that's going on every single day in that group. It is unbelievable how high level and on point the SEO is right now in the Skype group. It's amazing, and you should be in it just to. You don't even need to participate, although I would encourage you to, but just to absorb it. I think the level of contribution that we've got from people, and I don't name one person because then I'd have to name 40. I mean, it's an amazing group that's going on. Please get into the Skype group. I think it'll completely enrich your SEO experience if you're not already there.
Yeah, and it has a
Just on the
totally
things that are literally every day.
it has a totally different feel than the Facebook group too. Totally different conversations. It's kind of interesting
It
that
does.
way. Yeah, Skype can roll pretty quickly, and it's not for everybody. But like Kyle said, the depth of SEO that's going on in there is breathtaking. I mean, it just doesn't get any deeper or more advanced than that. What's going on? And well,
Not at
in
all.
this group and at SEO Rockstars, which we just came off of, and this. So anyway, let's get going on the SIA
All right,
test.
let's do it. So I think this is the big test, if you will, from the month. And as Dory mentioned in the write-up, Dory worked on this several years ago, showing that it was a thing, and kind of I think in response to Google kind of removing a bunch of sites. But the idea is that does a de-index site pass juice? And in my own practice, this was something that I actually saw through finding sites that were actually pinging in Google Alerts. Google Alerts would um, bring back this site and you according to the alert, and then when I looked at these sites, I realized that they were de-indexed and they had links on them. And then kind of in my own practice, I was like, that's interesting. Google Alerts is finding these sites, so clearly Google still knows they're there, but they're quote-unquote de-indexed, meaning they're not showing in SERPs. Well, what do these links do? And I know Dory's worked extensively on this, and what was a ton of fun was working with some de-indexed sites. Now, Dory has tons of networks, and she maybe can speak to this a little bit more than I can. But from time to time, these sites get de-indexed for whatever reason.
Oh, baby, can I speak
Where
to
they
this
just,
one?
it's kind of the natural, I think, the natural attrition of owning large networks, you're going to lose some sites from time to time. So she very nicely gave us some sites to use that were recently de-indexed, and the test here was actually run by Karen Hansen, and then I also ran this test 2 more times because it's such a big thing. But in the end, what we got, and there's no reason for any kind of suspense, is that the de-indexed sites moved the needle. We were able to achieve a rank improvement with links from de-indexed sites. That's an amazing thing, because if you're dealing with large networks, if you have PBNs of your own, this is something you're going to run across, and it's like, what do I do with this site that's de-indexed? And the answer is you can still use it. And practically speaking, I might not point that at my money site, but these I think are turned into excellent links for juicing up other PBN sites, other tier 2 or tier 1 kind of sites that you want to juice up. I'd say go for it in those regards. Is there something else that you would do, Dory, with these sites that are de-indexed?
Yeah. One thing too is in the membership area you have the ability to use link ratio campaigns, and so if you are using those with your PBNs, and you should be, if something gets de-indexed and you don't want it pointing at your money site any longer, you can change it right in that membership dashboard. That's how easy that is and how that works. So you just go into link ratios. I'm not going to go into a big tutorial here, but you can change them like that. The other thing too is that I did do a big study on this in 2012, 2013. We were talking about this at SEO Rockstars, where everybody started getting de-indexed. I got hit really bad because I had just opened up SEO Link Monster the beginning of February, and they started de-indexing these sites right away. I mean, we went through 4,000 sites, and then I had a backup of 4,000 sites, and it just kept getting de-indexed. But the thing was, nobody's rankings changed. It wasn't until February 27th when Panda 3.3 came out, and there was this little paragraph at the bottom of this long string of things that they said Panda did that was changing the way they looked at links. And what happened then was they were looking at the exact match anchor text differently. Before, everybody was just going bam, 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 same keyword, same keyword, same keyword, and it worked really well. That's actually what happened, not the de-indexing the sites. So I wrote an analysis on it, and I proved that Google still came and saw them. They were still, would rank sites. Now, I think what happens is the natural attrition to PBNs, especially public blog networks, you're getting content onto them. It's thin content, but there's really no traffic. And so I've narrowed it down to, it being traffic to keep your PBN strong. Of course, you want to add content, but it's the traffic that the site stops getting, and I think it's just a natural loss of power that starts to happen after a year or two with the same network. So I had guys that still continued to, they got mad when I would take some of the networks down, and this wasn't SEO Link Monster, there's some other networks, because they said that their rankings would go down when I took the sites down. So they would pay me just to keep the sites up that were de-indexed, and these were guys in the casino niche and stuff, so they wanted they knew. And so there, I'm glad that you guys did the test too, and I feel vindicated somehow. So anyway.
You are vindicated.
Thank you.
There was a question in the Skype group just to clarify what we did, and these were sites that were removed. And so what we did was we created links. We created new pages on these sites and sent the links from that is how these tests were run. So basically the idea is a site's removed. What if you build another page on it and send a link? That's the testing that we did.
Yeah, and so what people don't understand is that there is the index and then there's the search results. Those are two different cans. So they actually take those out of the search results. They're still in the index, but we always call it de-indexed because we consider when you see yourself in the search results that you must be indexed. You're in the index. That's not actually true. They're two separate cans. Google published a document on it, and I have the graphic somewhere where there's the index and then there's the search results. So what they do is take those thin sites out of the search results so they don't show up any longer. But they're still in the index, they're still getting crawled, and they still pass juice.
I think of it as there's a forward-facing index and a backward-facing index within Google, clearly. And the idea is that there are filters, and so when a site is quote-unquote de-indexed, it's been added to a filter so that when the algorithm crunches how a search is done, I think it would display kind of in that middle area, and then these sites pass through the filter, and if it's on a list of de-indexed sites, then it just won't pass through and show up in SERPs, or the front-facing index, I think is the right way to think about it.
I don't know if I got that, but anyway. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate it. Anybody have any? No, I don't think so. Clint said something. Was there anything done to tell Google that the new links? That was the question that you answered. And Jose just
is
complimenting us on the information that we have, that you can't really get it anywhere else, and which is true. That's why I love this. I can't believe nobody thought about doing this before, Like, hello, testing club. Duh. Anyway.
There was, what was really hilarious, though, is that we submitted all the pages, the link with...
Oh. And I feel bad for anybody who was not on Skype and did not get the link to the second one. So if you were on Skype, if you were on the call, obviously GoToWebinar did a hard crash. Took a couple minutes for us to even get on there, for me to get on there, and then I finally was able to create a new link for everybody and sent that out in Skype. So the recording will obviously be up soon. So, okay, let's just get into it and go ahead.
Completely off topic, I bought a whole bunch of Gmails the other day, and one of the Gmails was named Kyle Friend. Just want to throw that out.
Wow, that's cool. See, it was destined. Destiny.
Yep. All right, so does a page with a no-follow link affect rank? And I think this is the second big test. I think the de-index test is amazing. And then the idea is that do no-follow links move the needle? And what was a lot of fun is you can read a lot about this. It's one of those things, if you're trying to learn SEO and you go to the Google and ask, you get every opinion out there. Yes, they do. No, they don't. Or you get the in-betweener, the idea of, well, it's not a direct thing, but it probably helps, or you need a natural portfolio, blah, blah, blah. So we tested it. That's just what we do. And what was great about this is, yeah, they do. They move the needle. So I put in this test so you could see it, that it was that we had the no-follow link tag, no-follow tag on the particular link, and that's why there's the screenshot of when you do the inspect on your websites. And then, yeah, at the end of the day, boom, got it done. So I would guess that there is probably a limiting factor, but I think the important point is that the no-follow tag isn't for necessarily the site that is receiving the link. The no-follow tag is really for the site that has posted the link. In a way, they're telling Google, I'm not taking credit for this link. I don't really know where it's going. I don't know that site that well or that content that well, and so it's a indicator for the site that the link has been placed on. But Google is free to do whatever they want. Like, no follow tag or any other tag really are guidelines rather than actual rules. Search engines can do whatever they want to do with anything that's on your site in terms of how they are going to add things to their algorithm. So when you see a no follow tag, it's not telling Google, and Google's like, oh, no follow, I'm not going to do anything. Google can do what it wants with that link. But the no follow tag protects the site owner that placed the link, I think, is really what the purpose of that tag is. But at the end of the day, the no-follow links move the needle, meaning that Google is counting them as part of their ranking algorithm.
Yeah, remember that it was a big thing, do not link to bad neighborhoods. Back in the days, like before 2012, it was, you could get links from anywhere, but you couldn't link to a bad neighborhood. That would get you that was the myth that would get you penalized, and that's why Google created the no follow. So yeah, and I knew I had done this test too way back when, and found that they did still rank sites. So
Yeah, you know, also think about like Wikipedia links or anything like that, but they're no follow. They're probably fine.
Kendrick,
They're probably good.
Kendrick says that don't forget to ask Kyle my question, but I don't know what it was.
Hang on, I got it.
Okay. And Clint says they work if you have high quality content that you love, that you post every day at 1 p.m. Oh, that reads love. At 1 p.m. Yes, exactly at 1 p.m.
That's how it works. That's actually part of the algorithm that Clint promised they would.
Yeah, and be sure to stand on one foot at the same time.
It's kind of like those people that like copy and paste that thing in Facebook that like, I have to copy and paste this or Facebook is going to steal all my underwear from my underwear drawer.
God, who knows? So do you remember what Kendrick's question is?
Yeah, but it's about one of the later tests.
Oh, okay. And Jose says, unless it's a Tuesday. Of course, we're okay today.
Right. All right, should we move on?
Yes. That was a good one. Both of those were absolutely fantastic tests.
Anchor text exact match variance. And so what we're doing here is we were looking at the idea of, well, we've got 5 test pages. What if we send links to all of them and we vary the exact match anchor text that they're going to receive? So one page received 100% exact match, and then another page received 100% naked URLs, and then you can do the math for yourself, 25, 75, 50, 50, 75, 25, in terms of the variance on exact match anchor text to naked URLs. What was a lot of fun when we did this test, though, is that we used your system, Dory, that you've put together. Your now patented and no longer patent pending.
That's right. That is
tool. If you want to talk about that a bit, it's super cool. If you've had the opportunity to look at the SIA tools section, it's in there. What it does briefly is that it'll vary the anchor text that you want for a link across the network in any which way you want it, and it does it through shortcode, which is pretty cool. But if you want to talk a little bit more, because you obviously know it way better than I do.
Well, I just want to say that yes, we're calling it link ratio. It's in the tools area. Everybody has access to it. I would highly recommend using it for your PBNs and managing your PBNs. And yes, you can. It's a link profile system. And yes, I finally got the patent on it. I think I announced it at SEO Rockstars just like by and by, or maybe I said it on this thing last month. I haven't gotten it. I think I've had it for a month. Did I talk about it last month? But I had just gotten it. I plan on doing a video on it because I feel really proud to actually have an SEO patent, and you're not going to get it anywhere else, just here. So, and I need to probably do it.
It's super cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, and you could do stuff like this really easily.
Oh, it took. There's no learning curve. Like, it took a minute.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those things where I looked at it and I was like, well, do I need to do this? I see it. Okay. And that was pretty much it. This is just kind of what it looks like actually on the inside when you create it. You create these campaigns, and so the campaigns I was creating for our test pages and our target pages, and then what you can see over here on the right-hand side is just an example of what percentage you tell the program what percentage you want to put in for your particular keywords. And so one was exact match anchor text, so for our anchor text was just the link, and then the other was the exact match, which would be the target keyword, and you can literally put in the ratios. And as long as you can do math up to 100, you can put in as much as you want, and the system even tells you you haven't reached 100% yet. So
yeah, and also you can throw in, and what I like to do is, like, when I'm doing my competitive research and I get I'm looking at a competitive site that's ranking #1 or something, and I want to match its anchor ratio, I'll grab the other keywords and like maybe it'll be 83% other, when you're looking at it.
Hmm.
And then I'll
Sure.
grab all those keywords, put it into that, and put it at 83% or something, or match it, because you can put in 1,000 keywords in one field and say give this 83%. But yeah, as long as you come up to
And then
100 at the end of the day. So
And that makes a great point, because at the end of the day, in this test, what ended up winning was the site that was receiving 50/50. And I don't think 50/50 is like the perfect ratio, like, and that's what you need in terms of exact match to anchor text. I think what this highlights is the idea of diversity. And what's great is that you can use something like Majestic or other tools that will show you anchor text profile, and then you could mimic exactly what Google is rewarding, like what the top sites for particular keywords are doing. And that's exactly what I think you should be doing when you're doing competitive research, is what is Google rewarding for my target keyword? I'll look at where those keywords are placed for the top 10 or top 30 sites that are winning the keyword, but then also look at their anchor text profiles and figure out the ones that are doing it right, and then mimic that. And what's really cool about this system is that you can do that within this. It was a lot of fun to play with.
thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you talking about it.
All right.
And, yeah, and people can use it with their own PBNs, or I think you have to upgrade though to use it with our PBN, with our network.
And that's actually kind of fun. You can load up your own sites and then do it across.
Yeah, because I know most everybody in the SAA probably has PBNs, I would assume, and that's how I would manage them anyway. But that's a whole nother video, a whole nother topic. Let's continue on, sir.
Moving on, bounce rate hack part 2. So this is fun because we know that bounce rate is a ranking factor, and we found an amazing hack to game bounce rate in Google Analytics. So then the idea was, let's put it together. And this is one of those tests. Ryan Huff did a great job on this test. And this is one of those tests that just didn't quite work out. And the thing that I like to show about these tests is that we're not full of it. Like, not every test works perfectly. That's just kind of how they go. And sometimes we get results we don't like. And sometimes we get results that are inconclusive. And so this is one of those ones that's inconclusive. We know that bounce rate is a factor. We have this fun hack that actually Ryan found to game your bounce rate, but we couldn't put the two together. And one of the biggest problems that you have in these types of tests is that it's hard to get people to do what you want them to do. When you're trying to get visitors to behave a certain way, to emulate real visitors even, it's hard to get them to do exactly what you want them to do. And I think that kind of muddied the waters a bit. We're still following this test, but we can't say for certain that the bounce rate hack, which is putting a goal or setting an event, in Tag Manager, will reduce your bounce rate in Google Analytics. It's pretty awesome. You can get your bounce rate down very low, and I've actually done this on several sites now that are client sites, and it's worked tremendously well in terms of bringing bounce rates down. But we can't say that in the test environment that we've proven that will move the needle. In a sense, that will trigger what Google is looking for in terms of bounce rate. But we're still following this test. We're still looking at it, but the results to make this happen are a little inconclusive. I would still do it. I've done it on several client sites. Bounce rate has dropped. It's been really great. Clients get pretty stoked about it. So I am putting this into practice, but we can't say with 100% certainty that that this will actually move the needle for a ranking factor.
Yeah, bummer.
They happen.
It happens.
Moving on?
Yep, no questions coming in.
Cool. So buying expired domains. So this was a lot of fun because we're just talking about PBNs, and I assume just about most people on here have been on the auction block buying expired domains. And so Karen Hansen and her group actually did a lot of work on this, the majority of it. And what she did was, and the concept was, well, let's have a niche, and our niche is our fake keyword, and then let's go out and buy some expired domains that look good. The ones you can get for relatively inexpensive prices, like $8 or $12. The ones that those finds that you get from time to time. They're like, hey, these are great metrics. It's only $8. let's get it. The ones that you're really looking for when you're trying to buy expired domains. And so the idea was to get a variety, if you will, of TF and DA, trust flow and domain authority, and then throw them into the mix and let's see who wins. And this test was a labor of love for Karen in that it took a ton of time and a ton of work. Because if you've ever built a PBN from an expired domain, you know it's a lot of work. And Karen basically was emulating what you would actually do when you're putting these sites together. At the end of the day, what was extremely interesting was the site with the DA won. And the TF on the site, I think, was a 1, which was really pretty shocking. So it had a decent DA. So they had gamed, I believe the site was gamed. And it was gamed so they had really nice domain authority, but as a result, the trust flow wasn't quite there, but that didn't really seem to matter. It won. The biggest takeaway on this test was that I don't think you can really look at one metric. I think there are people that are definitely in the DA camp and people that are more in the TF camp. And really what I think when you're evaluating a site, if you're going to be buying expired domains, or if you're just doing competitive research and looking at link strength, generally don't just look at one metric. Look at the variety of metrics that you have access to. And then at that point, when you have numbers that you feel comfortable with, be a professional and go and look at the actual backlinks that you can see coming into the site. I was actually really surprised to see the DA site one, because I myself lean a little more towards TF, towards trust flow when I'm evaluating things. But it was a good kind of smack in my face to kind of make sure that my thinking wasn't too one-directional, that I get too focused on TF. And the DA is a valid metric, and you can get good sites looking at DA. You can get great sites looking at TF, but I think the idea here is make sure you're looking at a balance of things and really evaluating what you're doing.
Yeah, this test is making me so angry. I want to do it again because I hate Moz going and looking at their DA and PA and shit like that. I've always been a Majestic fan and looked at trust flow. My barometer has always been trust flow. So, gosh darn it, I'd start swearing. I'm
almost exclusively TF.
Yeah,
for sure. But the point is though, like, you know, these third-party systems can only tell us so much.
Yeah,
but they're limited by what they have.
I always figured if you used one as a barometer, then that would be the barometer. Now you're saying use more than one as a barometer, which is interesting. In a way, it's actually probably good news, because people that look only at trust flow, like myself, would pass a domain with a TF of 1 that had a DA of 20, because I wouldn't have seen it, where it would have been a better domain. So I'm losing out on domains and people that are looking at both. You know, so that's a hard lesson too. Clinton says DR is the way to go, baby. I don't even know what DR. Maybe he said PR. Yeah, we're done with PR. So yeah, this is kind of making me like, It's like I gotta go buy another tool now.
If I was putting money on it, I would have put money on the higher TF sites all the way, and unfortunately,
I totally
would have lost money.
Yeah. You know, that would be a good one. Oh, DR, Ahrefs equivalent. He says, you know what? That's why I don't know it, because I don't use Ahrefs. I use Majestic.
I don't either, and a lot of people are using Ahrefs now, and I need to get on it.
Yeah, I've stood by Majestic for so long. Interesting, DR. So is really DR becoming a huge factor in buying domains?
I don't know if any of the tools.
Ahrefs really becoming that, their algorithm becoming good enough to be able to call something?
I don't know. I play with it so little myself. I don't know. I actually, a client has it, and I've decided to jump on it just to look in and what's in there.
I just know their blog posts are a little, how do you want to call it? A little over the top and like Dr. Oz, sensationalist. Um, Clint says I find it middle between Moz Majestic and it's still controversial. Okay. Okay, well there you go.
Cool. All right, part 2, .gov links. So last dossier, and I think Mike Crest was the one that turned me onto this, a member in our group, where the concept of building links on .gov sites. So a bunch of these old .gov sites have this really hilarious hack, vulnerability, where you can create the "you're leaving this site" page. So remember when you used to click on a link and you get a page that says you're about to leave this site and you need to know you're leaving this site? There are a bunch of old .gov websites that still do that. And so you can create that page, that kind of redirect page, and often it has like a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and now you're leaving, just by manipulating the URL parameters. You can essentially go into .gov pages and create a .gov link going to your site, in a sense that you're now leaving, the national weather website and going to clientsite.com. So it's a fun little hack. So what we did last month is we went in and we created a bunch of these and we pointed them at our test site and we couldn't get any movement. And then talking with some people that do the technique, what they do after that is they blast them with links. So we decided to do that and look at it again. What was really interesting is I submitted all the sites to Majestic, all these links, and even though a bunch of them had a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Majestic crawled all of them, saw the links, and registered all the links. And these are the metrics that Majestic had coming off of these .govs. No trust flow and citation flow of 13, which is pretty interesting, I thought. I thought it was amazing that Majestic's crawler could even see it in the first place. But then what we did was using a drip feed link, and these are what they look like, I'm sorry. So we're on the national weather, we're at this .gov, a couple other things that these are all government sites. You can see they're all .gov TLDs. 3 were follow and 2 were no follow, which was also pretty interesting. But there they were. So then we just blast them with links, and what we did is we used drip feed links, which is something that I lean on a bit when I want a lot of links. And I think in the end we got over 1,800 links going into all these pages, and couldn't move it. Couldn't move it at all, and I was really bummed out. So I think we can put this one to bed. I don't think it's moving the needle. I think there's something in it that Google understands what these links are, and it's just completely discounting them.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah, so it was fun. Busted. It was fun, but that's about all it was. Good. Moving on.
Yep. No questions yet.
Okay. So we're looking at the amount of pages. So from time to time, you've run into where a client's like, you know what? Should we? We've got all this content. We're ready to go. Should we drip it out, or should we just launch a massive site? And that's kind of what we were trying to emulate. The idea of, what if we just did a 5-page site? What if we did a 100-page site? And then this one we had a control site as well that we launched first, of 10 pages to have something in the mix that was available. And what was interesting, a couple of things about this test was the control site one, in a sense. It was launched first. It actually had 10 pages that were indexed and stayed in. The 100-page site didn't get all of its pages indexed immediately, which was really kind of frustrating, even though we were doing all the index tricks to it, which was kind of a lesson in sometimes things just don't index the way you want them to index. But as the larger site got more and more pages indexed, it beat the 5-page site, which is really what we were looking at, with the idea of launch as large a site as you can. If you were at Rockstars or you listened to the videos, Josh Basinski was talking about one of the things that he got from Google was that build as big a site as you can. And what's interesting is I hadn't spoken to him about that or heard that prior to running this test, but it actually kind of confirmed then kind of some of the information that he received. Really the idea is larger sites will beat smaller sites just in terms of volume. An important point on that, though, is not having thin pages and having unique content. That was actually Kendrick's question that he had brought up in the Skype group, was how do you write about that, or how do you create that many pages? I recently did a project where we launched, it was in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 6,000 pages, and it's all spun content. It's basically the same article 5,000 to 6,000 times, and we've got about 3,000 first and second page ranking pages out of that. The client's tickled. But the thing is, as we know from previous tests, in order to get past Google's duplicate content, you need to have 51% unique content on the page. That's not a huge bar when you really think about what kind of content you're talking about. And then in one of the Friday chats from a few weeks ago, I spoke actually about a manual spin. A manual spin is where you go in and you basically write the same article from 4 different voices, and then you combine them together, and I showed how I do that to create unique content. If you were at Rockstars 3 years ago, you heard Chris Ulrich talk about this, and I think he crunched the numbers, and if you do a manual spin correctly, and I forget, I want to say it's like a 1,000-word manual spin, if you do that correctly, there are more variations in that spin than there are stars in the sky. And at that point, Google literally cannot see that it's the same article. So a manual spin is a powerful tool. It is a pain in the ass, and it's a lot of sit-down work. But when you think about that, you can take a smaller number of articles and create thousands and thousands of pages, and we know from our testing that you need 51%. They come back unique. That's a way that you can generate a bunch of pages at one time.
Yeah, and that specific technique, it would be great for cloaking. Now, the idea of cloaking obviously is that you create content that Google loves, spiders and ranks. But if you're just using spun content, what's the call to action? Well, cloaking would send it to another web page that would give the call to action that you may want. I did this in huge amounts of volume in the AdSense days, before links became a huge factor, and I think I might try it again. It really did well. I mean, we'd send all kinds of people to a page that had AdSense on it when it first came out. I actually got a dog that way. I was just telling Meredith the story. I said I was cloaking because we were breeding Labradors, and I just grabbed all the kinds of keywords I could, and one was Labrador dog rescue. And the lady kept calling my neighbor, who I was doing the site for, and she kept saying, it says you were at Lab Rescue Place. She was crying on the phone, and we ended up taking that dog because of my cloaking. Yeah. Google says you are a rescue place. Anyway.
That's great.
Yeah, you can do lots of crazy things by cloaking. So that's why I see this kind of content being used for that kind of thing. Other people you could probably still get a good call to action or just content on different aspects to generate a higher content volume on your page. Too, is spinning it and making
oh, for sure.
Put your call to action above the fold, and then put the other stuff underneath the other content.
Well, when you think about like a giant e-commerce site where you're describing the same shirt, 500 times, you could take that content that's a couple hundred words even, spin it properly, and actually get unique content then on the page, on all your shirt pages, if you will. It's a great e-commerce technique to get unique content on those pages on things you have to do. There might be terms of services you could spin or notices that you have to give. Obviously, don't do something to screw yourself legally, but there's probably content that's on the page that you could spin that has to be on the page for whatever reason, and you could do a manual spin on it and get unique content on your page.
Yeah.
And add content to pages.
Now, Daniel Cook is saying it's not just how big the site is, it's also whether It has complementary topics a la hummingbird. Geez, I haven't had any rums, I swear. Relevant coverage of topic. So
I don't disagree.
that's what Daniel says. And he also said about the .gov links. Did you check if the .gov links were indexed? They never seem to indexed either. Waste of time.
Yeah, I agree. We looked at it, so no, they're not indexing. But we know that's not necessarily the up or down on a particular link because of our de-indexed sites. I mean, it's very possible that they don't show in SERPs, but still would pass juice. But nah, we couldn't make it happen. I was really kind of bummed out because I wanted it to happen.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. You can move on.
Cool. All right. So PNG versus JPEG, and this was spearheaded by Derek Booth, who's done some amazing work for us, especially on these kind of tests. What's kind of fun with the people in the group, you'll notice that they kind of have their niche or stuff that they're good at and their go-to. But we really want to see if does Google care? Like, you hear this from time to time. These are the kind of things that come up in those client meetings where a client has done a little research and they've read something, or their best friend Larry, sister's brother, cousin told them something about SEO, and that was that JPEGs are what Google likes, or the PNG files are what Google likes. And then they turn to you, you know, and then you have to kind of make up something on the spot. I've been in a lot of those meetings. Like, then you all of a sudden you're the expert and you have to like talk about these stupid things. But then on the other hand, maybe that exists. You know, that's we found, as you know, if you've gone through the dossiers, we found some things that I thought were ridiculous, like the home-to-home link is still working. I think it's absurd. But these things are out there. So this is a great test because it's like this could actually be a thing. Maybe PNGs are favored. Maybe JPEGs are favored. And this was the test they set up where he had 5 pages and then he put that image, that unique image on there that he took from his smartphone. And then for 4 of the sites you can see he's got as a PNG image and the JPEG image, and there's no movement whatsoever. It was interesting. We saw some freshness update kind of movement. Some of the sites did move around. So it's a fun thing when you do add something to a page, you will get movement, that you can get a freshness update, which is what he saw. There was some shifting around, but the JPEG page didn't move up or down, which is really kind of indicating to us that it's not a factor at all. There's no difference in Google's mind by the file extension. There are other things, of course, in play. You know, the size of the file might make the page load faster, which we know is not a direct ranking factor, but somebody might stay on the page longer as a result, or they might not bounce. And the bounce is a ranking factor. But don't stress over your image file types would be my suggestion out of this one. If a client has a particular image that they like, just let them run with that. If they want to do something or other, that's all. I think it's all fine. Don't worry about it.
No questions?
Cool. Moving on. All right. So this was also fun. Blog roll links, right? They have to be the worst thing in the history of things. You know, there was a couple years back in 2014, there was the site-wide link penalty, and people were identifying that it was from their blog rolls, and they were getting dinged by having all these kind of blog roll links roll in. So, you know, it's one of the things. Is that actually a factor? Let's take a look at it. And also using Dory's system in the SIA tools is what we used for this, which was also a lot of fun. And it looks like this. So you go in to the system and you can create a sidebar blog roll link. You can create a site-wide footer link, and you can throw them in. And then this is what it looks like actually on the test page, or on the network page. So it's actually in this must-read section. It's a widget, you know, that you see, and there was our exact match anchor text link. Now, what was really interesting when we ran this is it was right after Penguin 4.0, and we didn't get any movement, and then a few days later, after launching it, the domain for the blog roll started indexing because it's got that fake keyword on it. A little while after that, all of a sudden, all the pages from the site started showing up, and again, we weren't getting any movement. So we got the domain, we got all these pages because it's a site-wide blog roll link. So all these pages are indexing because they've got that for that target fake keyword because it's actually on that page.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Yeah, I know. So
when your PBN starts showing up for the word that you're going after.
It was hilarious. Like, I was laughing every day because this list kept growing, and I can't remember how many it was at the end. I mean, I want to say 30 to 40 easily.
Oh my God.
We're indexing, but they weren't moving the needle. That was the problem. I was like, oh man, maybe in this situation they are being ignored because of Penguin. Was my thought. But it turned out it was just time. Was all that it was. The test page moved to the top on November 7th. It just took a long time for it to happen, but it got there. And then these are all, as you can see these are all the blog roll pages, and that's the test page. But the one thing to take away from this, I am confident that a blog roll link or a site-wide footer link or two is not going to harm your SEO, and you can get a boost from it. I think if you did all of your SEO as blog roll links or all as site-wide footer links, then you're probably in trouble. But if you got a few of them, go for it. I think it's completely fine. One other big takeaway from this thing, though, was that what we have noticed in tests where we're building links now, tests are taking longer in the post-Penguin 4.0 world. So I find it that very interesting because Google was saying that Penguin 4.0 is going to be in quote-unquote real time. And our hope was, as testers, like, well, that's great because now we can really game the system and now we can really find things out, but and quickly because we can do it in real time. But that's not the case. There's something that they've introduced into this rollout that while it's a quote unquote like real time evaluation, our tests are taking longer. So they've managed to get something in there that would prevent kind of the SEO from doing the one-day test. The other thing to keep in mind is if it's taking longer in a test environment, that's probably an exponential increase in time in real life. When you've got a link that you've built or a bunch of links that you've built and they're going in, I would imagine that they might take a little bit longer now even to take effect. So when you build those links, you're like, man, it's been a few weeks. What's going on? I'm not getting movement. I would still think kind of sit tight. Things might just be taking a little bit longer now than normal. So kind of adjust that. That's a part of like client expectation management. You can go to your clients and say, hey, one of the big changes in Penguin 4.0 is that links that we build are actually taking longer to take effect. There's something in the algorithm that's actually spacing things out. So that way you can kind of manage how your clients are looking and evaluating your work and don't stress too much. If it's been a few weeks and you still haven't gotten anything, it's still very possible you're going to get the benefit of the links that you built.
That's a really good point to get across, and you talked about that at SEO Rockstars. I remember just seeing that when I was editing your footage, how you were talking about client expectations and telling them, it could take 3 or 4 months, and you had a proprietary thing to do that. But managing that is real important. So that's a really good tip to have, knowing that links are taking longer these days than they used to.
And that's what makes you a pro. That's why they're paying you for your information, because you can say like, hey, what's really interesting? This update came out and now things are taking longer. Yeah. And that's actually just what makes you an actual professional for the person that's paying you money to do their SEO.
Absolutely. Okay, wait, time to rank method. Oh, Daniel says, time to rank method, time to rank method, time to rank method. Yes, Kyle has a time to rank method. For proprietary, he's not even ever told me what it is.
It's remarkably simple, but if you've done SEO for a year, you should have some data. And go back and look at what original metrics were, and then when you got your desired rankings, look at what probably come up with something yourself.
Um,
That's actually one of the hardest parts of testing is keeping data. Keep data on your clients.
yeah.
You know,
And
the day one stuff. And
you were talking a little bit too about getting them to page 2. That was like a real important aspect because from there you could really determine, I think, is what it was.
yeah, what I found, I mean, on page, I think moves the needle a bunch if you do it correctly. Like, if you know, the analogy that I like to use is that links are like the sunshine and rain when you're trying to get a plant to grow. But if you didn't till the ground properly and you didn't plant a seed, nothing's going to grow. And I see like technical SEO and I see on-page SEO as tilling the ground and planting the seed. So as a result, like when I do my estimates with clients, that stuff has to be done first. You know, you have to have a page about a particular keyword, and if you don't, I mean, you can, in a few rare exceptions, get pages to rank that really don't have a keyword on it, but they're so rare. Why hope? You know, like, get a page about a particular keyword you want to rank for. But my estimates don't start when I talk to clients. Like, you know, we tell you, yeah, I think it's going to take like 4 to 5 months. But that doesn't start that meter doesn't start running until they have fixed any identified technical SEO issues and they've completed the copy on the page that I like. From there, then we're looking at links. But that's all kind of part of client expectation managing as well. You know, we need this stuff first. And if you don't get it done, then we're just not going to rank. And that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, you know, so everybody's talking in Skype too, because you had kind of popped out while you were saying some of the stuff that everybody wanted to hear. And so Clint's going to drill you on Friday and liquor you up. Or make sure you have some rum on Friday.
You got it. Are people going to be on Friday with the holiday weekend? It's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, well,
will people be on?
I don't know.
Will more people be on? I'll totally do it if people want to be there.
That is totally up to you.
No, I'm happy to do it. I was thinking that people might not want to do it because, you know, family stuff, or maybe there are people that do Black Friday things, but
yeah, I'm going to go get another drone. It was a Black Friday thing. I mean, obviously we got it before that, but it's going on sale on Black Friday, spending $100.
There you go.
So, I maybe they can't hear you. Can you guys hear us? Oh gosh, they can't hear us.
Oh no, have we just been talking to ourselves? It's been really good.
Oh my gosh. Says the webinar will begin shortly, blurb. Well, at least I'm recording it.
Get it on the flip side.
Yeah.
Man, GoToWebinars really let us down today.
It has. Was this the last test?
Yeah, this is it. We're done.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're done. This was last test anyway. I'm typing. I told Kyle to drink some rum on Friday, so Clint can drill him. Okay, so for all those on the recording, I'm hopefully this recorded. It says it's recording. I'm going to turn it off now and render it. Then you did get to hear what Kyle had said. So anyway, I'm going to stop recording and then end the webinar. I would usually say, is there any more questions? But nobody can hear us.
Maybe that's what we need to do every time. That would just end the questions.
Something like that. Oh, well. Okay, you guys. Let's see. Trying to...